Hi everyone, this is John Corley at Plant-Based Life here with another video, and I'm outdoors down here at beautiful Bondi Beach. Haven't been here for quite a while actually. I don't live too far away now, but yeah, just been very busy. This is my first opportunity to get outdoors this week, and as you all know from my other videos, I love being outdoors. If I can't get outdoors often, I'm not too happy. But anyway, I can't complain. Look where I am, you know. But the reason I haven't been outdoors this week is because I've been teaching a lot of Pilates classes. In fact, on Monday I did 10 back to back, and then Tuesday I backed it up with another 7, and it's continued like that throughout the week, and I've interspersed that with lots of one-on-ones as well. So I'm coming up to a record of actual Pilates classes this week. I think I'm going to teach about 38 Pilates classes in total, which is a record for me. I would never do that many generally. But anyway, that's not the topic of this video. The topic of this video is to talk about a lot of the misconceptions around Pilates, the benefits of Pilates, and how I think it's being perceived out there, you know, by people, you know. So I'm going to go back to the man who founded it, Joseph Pilates, and I'm going to do a brief history here, okay, just to talk about this, because it's something I really want to get to. Really explain. It's something that I've been learning a lot about myself, and I want people to understand where it came from. So Joseph Pilates was born in Dusseldorf in Germany in 1880, and during his young life he had a lot of health complaints. He dealt with rickets, which is a vitamin D deficiency, which he overcame by learning himself about how he had to be outdoors and get sun exposure, and he used to train outdoors, do exercise outdoors in shorts and get exposure to the sun, and he used to do a lot of deep breathing techniques as well, which also helped him with his, you know, overcome a lot of his health conditions and ailments, and he got into movement from a young age. His dad was actually a prize-winning gymnast from Greece. That's how he would have been exposed to movement early on, but his health conditions held him back. But also they didn't just hold him back, they gave him the drive to overcome them and, you know, become the person he became. So it's quite an amazing story. He got into boxing, wrestling, self-defense, martial arts, and various other forms of movement in his young age. And he ended up going to live in the UK in the early, well, around the 1900s. And he was over there during the time that World War I, or just before World War I broke out. And just before that time, he was teaching self-defense and martial arts and all these skills to people at Scotland Yard. He was a professional boxer. He was actually, you know, he had fights over there, and he was a circus acrobat as well, as well as many other things. But as soon as World War I broke out, because he was German, he was interned in a internment camp on the Isle of Man for German soldiers that were interned during World War I. And while he was there, he realised a lot of these soldiers were in ill health, or they had serious health conditions, injuries, and a lot of the people there asked, you know, they found out about his background in physical exercise and said, you know, could you help us? So he started coming up with these ideas of taking the beds apart there, taking springs out of the beds and making these exercise apparatus, using springs as different types of resistance. Now, any of you who've had exposure to Pilates will see that, you know, the reformer is based around a bed really. It has different springs as part of the resistance. There's also the trapeze table, or the Cadillac, which is known as, which looks like that as well, which has got springs for different resistance. And there's the Pilates chair, which essentially came from a chair and he had his springs for different resistance as well. And it wasn't called Pilates when he coined the term initially, it was called Contrology, okay? Contrology was the name. But it originated from this internment camp where he was there rehabbing men who had come back from the war, you know, or been interned in this camp, had health conditions, and he helped them do certain exercises to rehab themselves. Amazing. So essentially, the early forms of this exercise was an exercise predominantly for men, right? So he moved back to Germany, was there for a few years after the war, got disillusioned with the political landscape, a lot of things that are going on in Germany, and he was actually invited by his friend, who was Max Schmeling's manager, the heavyweight boxer who fought Joe Louis for the heavyweight title, to go over to New York. So he went over there, and on the way over there he met his fiancée, who later became his wife, and he settled in New York. And and he opened a Pilates studio, his first Pilates studio on Broadway in New York, and that's where a lot of dancers, famous dancers, started coming to his studio, and that's where the major connection between Pilates and dance originated. And it's from there that it's grown, really. It's that exposure that made it grow, and it's always had this connection to dance, but its early inception as Contrology had very little to do with dance. But let me explain one thing that I want to talk about in this video. When I teach all around Sydney, you know, Pilates, it's about 98% attended by females. It's mainly women who attend it, and it's got a common misconception out there that it's, you know, in the same bracket as yoga, you know, that it's mainly dancers that do it, and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of dancers that do Pilates, but there's a lot of other people who need to do it. You know, Pilates is very, very beneficial for everyone. And it was designed as a form of exercise predominantly for men in its early inception. And you know, the whole core of it, which is, when I say core, that's no pun intended, but it is all about the core, right? So now when you talk about the core, you're talking about the center of the body that the part that links everything, and it's got a lot of deep stabilization muscles, including your transverse abdominis and your pelvic floor muscle, which help to stabilize your spine, your hips, your pelvis, you know, and it's all about improving your posture, right? And it's amazing benefits for people with injuries or muscle imbalances. Now, I got introduced to Pilates a long time ago. I've been doing it a long time, but I've only been teaching it in recent years. And I used to, many years ago, work in the corporate world, and I got many injuries myself, you know, lower back pain, I had, you know, knee injuries, I had wrist injuries, many different things, and postural misalignments, muscle imbalances from sitting at a desk and everything else. I used to DJ and be in the entertainment industry as well, so, you know, I still do that to, you know, every now and then, but I'd be standing up for long periods. So, you know, Pilates for me was a way to correct all of these muscle imbalances and get good posture back, you know. And it's very, very important, I feel, for a lot of men out there to be exposed to Pilates and to incorporate it into their exercise routine, especially if you're out there, you know, lifting weights or doing anything like that. What I find is with men, and I was one of them, we have this common view, right, that we feel that to exercise and to get the benefit of exercise, we've got to work to the nth degree and push ourselves to that point where we just can't function after a workout. And as you age, that is not the way to train, you know, and high intensity training as well, you know, interval training. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good benefits of interval training, and I'll talk about them in a minute and how you can use Pilates to complement them. But you don't want to be doing them all the time. You need to move correctly first before you do these exercises, right? And the best way to learn to move correctly is to do Pilates. Reformer, mat work, incorporate it with functional movement training. Functional movement training is a newer term, you know, it's come about in the last 20, 30 years. And that's where, you know, you do lots of work with resistance bands, kettlebells and other forms of apparatus, even body weight stuff, right? And move in a functional way and engage many different parts of your body, but using the core and really utilising the core like you do in Pilates. Now, the main reason it's called functional is because it helps you function better in your day-to-day activities. The term functional has been used in the industry in a lot of bad ways, I believe, you know, and a lot of people have misconstrued it, but that's essentially what functional training is. And if you want to ask me who the father of functional training is, it's Joseph Pilates, because what he was doing way back in the early 1900s and 1920s when he opened his studio, and when he started that Contrology, you know, with those soldiers interned in the UK, that was the real beginning of what we now term functional movement, and it's the best thing you can do. It was groundbreaking back then, and it's groundbreaking right now. If you're doing any type of exercise, you know, if you're doing strength training, if you're doing any type of movement, you need to bring Pilates into your life, combined with good functional movement training. I mean, you know, and breathing is so important. Yoga is a very, very good form of exercise as well, but it's very different, and a lot of people put Pilates and yoga in the same bracket. Yoga is a meditative experience, you know, mind-body connection. There is a strong mind-body connection with Pilates as well, but the focus of the two exercises is very different. You know, with Pilates you're working on your core and you're really trying to, you know, improve your posture. With yoga, there's elements of that, but you're more about getting one mind-body connection and flexibility. You know, that's the main differences between yoga. But don't get me wrong, they're both very, very good exercise regimes to do. Lots of benefits of yoga as well. And Joseph Pilates did yoga as well, you know, early on, and that's where you'll see a lot of the moves in Pilates are very similar to yoga, but they're done in a very different way. You know, the way you hold them, the way you hold your core. You know, you don't breathe as deeply as you do in yoga when you do a Pilates move, because if you do, you'll lose that connection to the core. So if you take a deep breath through your nose all the way down to your diaphragm like you do in yoga, it's hard to keep your core stability. But in Pilates you do thoracic breathing, you breathe in through your nose, and as you breathe out through your mouth, same as yoga, but you only breathe down about as low as your rib cage and back out again, so you can keep your core, keep your pelvic floor switched on and keep everything stable, you know. Look, there's a lot more I can talk about, but essentially the purpose of this video is to say that really I want to see everybody in society do more Pilates functional movement training, but I specifically want to see men to start doing it, because I believe they need to do it more in a lot of ways, you know, than females, because females tend to be more in tune with their body. Males tend to, you know, go out there and just go gung-ho with exercise and cause injuries, or they sit at desks all day and they do all these jobs that really aren't benefiting them, you know, that are really, you know, making them sit in one place or driving a car or standing in one place, and they've got muscle imbalances, lots of them. But then people who do a lot of strength training, bodybuilders, you get them on a Pilates reformer machine, they've got more muscle imbalances than a sedentary person, because they tend to favour, you know, certain muscles over others when they're lifting and when they're doing certain movements. Because if you're not doing it in a functional way where you're, you know, engaging lots of different muscles when you train, and you're doing all that compound lifting, then you're really just going to end up with a lot of imbalances, right? So there's a lot of reasons why people have restrictions and muscle imbalances. But I believe Pilates is a very important tool to be used as part of an overall functional movement training, you know, routine. And then from there you can go back to your high intensity interval training, you can go back to your strength stuff, but at least you'll be moving in a way that, and engaging the muscles in a way that you'll lessen your chance of injury. And this is so important as we age. Now, for anyone out there who's got health conditions or, you know, any injuries they're trying to overcome, again, Pilates and functional movement training is going to be extremely beneficial for you. And it's for anybody at any age, young, old, it doesn't matter. It will benefit absolutely everybody. But I would like to see more men out there, especially as it is an exercise originally designed for men that has now become, you know, predominantly done by females, even predominantly taught by females, because I teach around Sydney, but still most of the instructors are female. You know, so this is where it gets that misconception that it's an exercise predominantly for females, but it's for everybody, right? But I believe males need to do it a lot more to improve every other aspect of their life. You know, I was at a seminar at one of the studios that I teach at, like about a month ago, by the owner of that studio, the guy, the founder of it, and he actually said that in his talk. He said he believes men need, you know, forms of movement like functional movement, Pilates and yoga more than females do, you know. We all need it, everybody needs it, every sector of society needs to move more and move in a good way, because when you've got good movement in your life, it helps all the other aspects of your health improve as well. You know, so one thing I would like to say is, you know, there are a lot of experts, you know, Joseph Pilates was a leader in his time, and there's been no one like him since, I have to say. You know, there's a lot of really good people out there teaching movement now. If you want to, if you're in the industry, if you're a personal trainer or a yoga instructor already and you want to learn to teach Pilates, I would highly recommend getting in contact with Tom Roman at RPX Fitness. RPX Fitness are based in Randwick and Edgecliff. I've learned a lot through them. I learned my reformer certification through them, and Tom has got a wealth of knowledge on movement and the mind-body connection and the brain connection as well. You know, your cognitive learning and your motor control when it comes to learning functional movement patterns. Yeah, Tom Roman's a great person to learn from. I'm also, so they've got the RPX method, which I've learned, but I also am certified with functional movement systems, certification 1 and 2, and I do functional movement screens. And Gray Cook, the founder of functional movement screens, is another great, person who teaches movement, but there's many others. You go online, there's YouTube channels, some are better than others. Nodi Aguilar, Functional Patterns, puts out some good stuff. He puts out some stuff that I would say, I don't know, it's a bit out there as well. I'm not a big fan of everything he does, but he does put out some good stuff. There's other people teaching Pilates online, doing YouTube videos, like John Gracie, who does a lot of he does a lot of stock videos and a lot of other videos, really good videos you can watch. But there's a lot of people out there teaching movement. But if you're in Sydney and you want to learn, you want to go and learn to teach well, you want to go to Tom Raymond. Now, if you want to learn Pilates and you want to, as a person who's out there who might have a health condition or wants to know more about combining Pilates with functional movement, get in contact with us at Plant-Based Life and come and train with us at our new studio in Bondi Junction, the Sydney Movement Studio. We've got Pilates Reformer, we've got chair, we've got the trapeze table, we've got functional movement equipment. Yeah, we're going to be taking on other instructors, yoga instructors, so there's going to be all forms of movement being taught there. So get in contact with us. But this is what I want to talk about, the misconception that is out there around this form of exercise. And it's original inception as Contrology and the story of Joseph Pilates. I've only touched on his story. His story is amazing. It goes into a lot more detail than that, a lot more depth than that. There's so much more you could talk about that man and things that he did. He invented so many things and he helped so many people. Absolutely amazing life story. But remember, if you want to learn more about how to move your body correctly, overcome any health conditions you've got or anything else, get in contact with us at either info@sydneymovementstudio.com.au or through our Plant-Based Life emails or Facebook groups, website. Sydney Movement Studio website will be up and running very, very soon, but you can email us at that info@sydneymovementstudio.com.au. And yeah, it's gone very long actually, 17, almost 18 minutes, but I'm out here, I'm outdoors, the sun's really come out now. Very fortunate to be able to be out here. I'm going back now to go and teach some more Pilates this afternoon, so I'll be back indoors. Well, it's not unfortunate because I love what I do, but I do like being outdoors, so I've got to teach a couple more classes this afternoon before and have a big weekend of teaching many more classes. So a big week, and it got me thinking about doing this video. So that was where the idea came from. I want to see more men now, after watching this, doing Pilates and doing functional movement training and incorporating it into their fitness routines or using it to help them overcome any health conditions, disabilities, injuries, anything else. But I want to see everybody on the whole planet, male, female, young, old, everybody doing more Pilates and functional movement and improving the quality of your life. Remember, peace, movement and plants.